Hello, everyone. How are you? I hope that this finds you well, and I hope that you enjoyed our discussions on David Hume the last couple of days and his importance as it relates to our ability to feel, right? And the fact that for Hume, it is our feelings that drive action. It is our feelings that we should pay attention to, and we should pay greater close attention to how others are feeling, as it relates to our ability to empathize, sympathize, in order to know how it is we ought to act, right? That if I were to kind of thinking about how I ought to treat one another, right, and treat each other, I should do things as I would want to be treated in a way that concerns feeling, right? And this idea that when we pay closer attention to our emotions, when we pay closer attention to kind of our sensations, passions, feelings, emotions, we will be guided in a more healthy way, in a more accurate way for Hume in our daily lives. Okay? And if you didn't like Hume, if you didn't buy what he was selling, then I think you're going to like our next thinker, which is Immanuel Kant. Okay? Because Kant is going to say the opposite. Okay? That if Hume's over here kind of with this subjective, emotivist, emotionally based ethic, over on the other side we have Kant, who's going to focus on our ability to reason. Kant's also going to give us, to greater or lesser extents, an objective feeling. Pardon me, shouldn't have said that because that's too Humean. Kant is going to give us seemingly an objective ethical outlook to follow. Okay? It's going to be much more hard-nosed, much more rigorous, much more focused as it relates to an ethical outlook. Okay? And again, the contrast between Hume and Kant is vast. Okay? And again, if you weren't really buying what Hume was selling, I'm curious if you'll start buying what Kant is selling. Okay? Kant was born in 1724, died in 1804. Okay? He lived his whole life in one particular location and was apparently so routine in his habits that his neighbors set their clocks by Kant's afternoon walks. Okay? And that, I think, kind of denotes the fact that Kant was a rigorous thinker. And his writings, his philosophy is very rigorous. A to B to C to D. Okay? Very linear, very formulaic. Okay? Very focused on this rational principle. Very focused on our ability to reason. Okay? And there's going to be some particularities as it relates to how Kant thinks about our ability to reason, which we'll get into on some of these videos here in just a moment. Okay? And as we start to dive in, again, I think kind of in your notes and as you kind of follow along, really start to dichotomize the differences between the two. Okay? And as we go through, those differences will become very vast very quickly. So enjoy the videos on Kant, again, recorded a handful of years ago, but the substance is what matters. And I hope that you enjoy seeing how these two thinkers really were not on the same page. Okay? And Kant, and I think I say this in my first video, Kant famously is quoted as saying that David Hume, when he was doing his work and kind of studying and reading philosophy, he got to the writings of David Hume and thought Hume was so wrong, thought Hume was so out of touch, off base, that Kant was awakened from his philosophical slumbers after reading the writings of David Hume. Okay? So think about this. You come across something that enrages you so much, that enrages you in such a way that then you start spending your entire philosophical energy, you start spending your entire intellectual energy trying to disprove, critique, push back against kind of the thoughts, the writings of one person. And that's essentially what we have here with Hume and Kant. They never met each other, and again, Hume died in 1776, so kind of in the middle of Kant's life. So it's kind of it's not totally known if Hume was really aware of Kant, but Kant was certainly aware of Hume. So enjoy this lively debate, enjoy this lively contrast in philosophies, and we'll see you soon.